It's me.
I don't know you.
After everything, you're mistaken.
You don't know her! This girl carried blocks for you. She paid your school fees.
He looked straight at me and said, I have never seen this woman before in my life. Not a whisper, not a mumble. Loud, clear, deliberately loud. The way you speak when you want an audience to hear you. When you want the humiliation to land properly. When you want the person in front of you to feel every single word like a slap. And the worst part, the people around him laughed. I am Shade, and what I am about to tell you is not a story I am proud of, but it is mine, every painful corner of it, and I will not soften it for anyone. Let me go back to the beginning. Let me show you who I was before the world bent me. I grew up in Karu, a dusty, hard-working town on the edge of Abuja, the kind of place where everyone knows your name and your business and your mother's business too. My father drove a commercial bus until his knees gave out. My mother sold bean cakes by the roadside from 4 in the morning until the last one was gone. We were not poor in the way that people starve. We were poor in the way that means you count every coin twice. That means new shoes only come at Christmas. That means you learn very early that nothing in this life is free. I met Dayo when I was 19. He came to Karo to visit his uncle who lived 2 compounds from ours. He was 21, tall, with the kind of smile that makes you forget you are in the middle of doing something important. He carried himself with a quiet confidence that felt different from the loud boys I had grown up around, those ones who shouted to prove they existed. Dayo did not shout. He just spoke, and somehow the air in the room shifted toward him. We talked for 3 hours the first day we met, about everything. About his dream to study electrical engineering, about his mother who had been sick for 2 years, about how he wanted to build something real with his life, not just survive it. I sat across from him on a wooden bench in the open compound, and I felt something inside me lean toward him, the way a plant leans toward light without being told to. Within 6 months, we were inseparable. Within a year, we were making promises. He got admission to a federal university in the south. It was a miracle, the kind that only arrives after years of private crying and quiet prayers. His results were good, his dream was real, but the money was not there. His mother was still sick, his uncle had his own problems. There was nobody to carry this thing forward, except the 2 of them, and one of them was bedridden. I was working at a provision store then, earning just enough to hold myself together. But I looked at Dayo's face the evening he told me the fees were due and he did not know what to do. And something in me made a decision before my mouth could even form the words. I will handle it, I said. He looked at me. Shade, you don't have to. I said I will handle it. That was the last time I remember him looking at me like I was someone he was afraid to lose. I went to the construction site the next morning. My father's friend, Mr. Bello, was building a row of shops along the main road. He needed casual workers, people to move blocks, carry sand, haul iron rods. The pay was daily, the work was brutal. I was a 19-year-old girl with soft hands and a good heart, and I showed up at 6 in the morning with my wrapper tied tight and told him I needed the work. He looked at me for a long time. Then he handed me a pair of worn gloves and pointed at the pile of blocks. That was how it started. Every day for the next 4 years, I found work with my hands so that Dayo could work with his mind. When the construction site job ended, I found another. I hawked water sachets at bus parks in the heat of the afternoon. I plaited hair in the evenings until my fingers ached. I sold second-hand clothes at the weekend market. I did everything short of stealing, and I sent money to Dayo every single month without fail. He called me my backbone. He called me my person. He wrote me a letter once, an actual handwritten letter that said, Shade, I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret this. I kept that letter under my mattress. I read it on the hard nights. I believed every word. People used to ask me, Sade, why are you doing all this for a man who has not even put a ring on your finger? I used to smile and say, because he's going to. The truth is, I was afraid to ask. I was afraid that asking would make me seem like I was doing it all for the reward rather than the love. And I did love Dayo. That part was never fake. I loved him the way you love something you have invested everything into, deeply, nervously, with a constant low hum of fear underneath. He came home during long vacations, and those visits were like water after a long dry season. He was warm, attentive, full of stories about school and project and professors. He talked about the future constantly, the firm he would open, the house he would build, the life we would share. He spoke about it so vividly that I could almost see it, almost touch it. But even then, looking back now, I can see the small signs I chose not to read. He never introduced me to his school friends when they called. He always stepped away to take certain calls. When I visited him at school once, I saved for 3 months to make that trip. He seemed more nervous than happy. He introduced me to his roommate as my friend from home. Just a friend, not his woman, not the person who had been carrying him financially for 2 years. I told myself it was because he was private. I told myself it was just his personality. I was lying to myself with both hands. He graduated in the 5th year, 1 extra year because of an industrial action that stretched everything. I was 24 by then. Some of my mates already had children working. My mother had stopped making suggestions about other men because she could see they only made me cry. I had given this thing everything, my youth, my money, my softest years. When Dayo walked across that stage and collected his certificate, I was in the crowd. I had taken a bus the night before, sat upright for 7 hours, arrived at dawn, freshened up in a public bathroom, and found a spot near the front. I cheered louder than anyone when they called his name. I felt the pride move through me like electricity. After the ceremony, he found me. He hugged me. He said, "We did it, Sadi. We actually did it." We. That word. That beautiful, lying word. He moved to the city 3 months later. A company in Abuja, the big Abuja, not Karu, had offered him a position. It was entry level, but the company was serious. I told him I would join him once he settled. He said, "Give me 6 months to find my feet." 6 months passed. His calls changed. Shorter, flatter. The warmth drained out of them slowly, like heat leaving a room at night. You don't notice it going, you just wake up one morning and realize you are cold. Then came the day his cousin, Tola, called me. Tola and I had always been close. She was the kind of person who could not hold uncomfortable truth inside her body for too long. It always came out. "Sade, I need to tell you something and I need you to be strong when I do." I sat down on my mother's wooden chair. My heart already knew. "Dayo is seeing someone," she said. "He is the daughter of his boss. It has been going on for months. He is using the relationship to secure a promotion and he has not told this woman that you exist." The phone felt very heavy in my hand. "Tola," I said slowly. "Are you sure?" She said, "I was at his apartment last weekend. I saw her there. I saw how they were. Sade, I am so sorry." I did not scream. I did not cry. I sat very still in my mother's compound in the same town where I had grown up counting coins and carrying blocks and building someone else's future. And I felt something quietly close inside me, like a door, like a gate, like a chapter ending before the next one was ready to begin. I did not confront Dayo on the phone. I know that surprised Tola. It surprised me too. But I had learned something from years of hard work. You do not fight a battle until you know exactly what battlefield you are standing on. So I waited. I gathered myself the way you gather firewood, quietly, piece by piece, until you have enough to make a real fire. 3 weeks after Tola's call, there was a community development event in Karu. A big one. A new road project was being commissioned and the construction company handling it had sent senior staff to attend the ceremony. It was in all the local papers. The company was the same one where Daya worked. I knew he would be there. I dressed simply. Clean blouse, good skirt, flat shoes. No drama in my appearance. I wanted to look like exactly what I was, a woman who worked hard and stood straight. I arrived at the event ground and scanned the crowd. I found him within minutes. He was in a group of company staff, wearing a well-cut shirt, looking relaxed and important. Beside him was a young woman in expensive clothes, confident, beautiful, her hand occasionally touching his arm in the easy way that only belongs to someone who does not know they have competition. This was the boss's daughter. This was what he had traded me for. I walked toward him steadily. "Dayo," I said. He turned, and I watched 4 things happen in his face in the space of 1 second. Recognition, panic, calculation, and then a mask, a smooth, practiced mask. "Yes," he said, calm, almost bored. "It's Sade," I said, though we both knew he knew. He tilted his head slightly, like someone encountering a mildly confusing stranger. "I'm sorry, have we met?" Around us, people had started to pay attention. His colleagues, community members, people who knew me, people who had watched me leave my house at dawn to go and carry blocks so this man could pay his school fees. "You don't know me," I said. My voice was steady. I had practiced the steadiness. "I'm afraid I don't," he said, with a small apologetic smile toward the woman beside him. "Sorry, I think you may have the wrong person." And then, this is the part that broke something in me that I did not know was still soft. The woman beside him laughed lightly, a polite social laugh, and touched his arm again. And Dayo laughed too, briefly, easily, as if I were a minor inconvenience being smoothly handled. That was when old Mr. Bello, the contractor, my father's friend, the man who had given me my first construction job, stepped forward from the crowd. He had been standing nearby. He had heard everything. He was 60 years old, with a rough voice and zero patience for nonsense. "Dayo, you don't know this woman? This is Sade. She carried blocks on my site for 2 years to pay your school fees. I personally watched her send money orders to your university every month. I know because she borrowed from me 3 times when she was short." The crowd went still. Dayo's mask cracked. Just slightly. Just enough. "Mr. Bello, I am talking," the old man said. "Don't interrupt me." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I have ever heard. I looked at Dayo one last time. I wanted to feel rage. Instead, I felt something quieter and more permanent, the feeling of a debt being fully understood by the person who refused to pay it. Then, I turned and walked away, slowly, with my back straight. Behind me, I could hear the crowd beginning to murmur. If you have ever sacrificed everything for someone who treated your love like a burden, this story is for you. Stay with me, because Sade is not finished. The best part is coming. Subscribe and don't move, because what happens next will shake you. I went home that evening and sat with my mother in the dark for a long time without speaking. She did not ask questions. She just made tea, the strong, sweet kind she had been making since I was a child, and put it in front of me and sat beside me. That was her language, my mother. Tea and presence. She was not a woman of big speeches, but she knew how to make you feel like you were not alone in the dark. I drank the tea. I breathed. I let the night hold me. And then, the next morning, I woke up early, the same time I used to wake to get to the construction site, and I made a decision. I was done grieving someone who was still walking around alive. I was done making a grave out of a relationship that the other person had already left. I was 24 years old. My hands knew how to work. My mind was sharp. I had survived worse mornings than this one. I got up and I started moving. My cousin was running a small building materials supply business on the outskirts of town. He needed someone to manage the administrative side, pricing, supplier contacts, delivery coordination. He had been asking me for months. I had always said I was waiting to join Dayo in Abuja. I called him that morning and said I was ready. I threw myself into that work with everything I had left after Dayo. And what I had left was more than I thought. Because here is what years of hard labor does that nobody tells you. It does not just build your muscles, it builds your mind. It builds your ability to stay calm under pressure, to solve problems without panicking, to look at a difficult situation and find the practical way through it rather than sitting down to cry about it. Within 8 months, I had restructured the entire supply chain of my cousin's business. Costs dropped, profit increased. He gave me a raise without my asking. A construction firm that regularly bought from us noticed how the business had changed and called to ask who was running it. I took the call myself. They offered me a consulting role, part-time at first, then full-time. By 2018, 3 years after Dayo had pretended to not know me in public, I was the procurement and logistics manager for a mid-sized construction company covering 3 states. I had an apartment, mine, not borrowed, not shared. I had a car, small, practical, reliable. I drove it every morning and felt the steering wheel under my hands and thought, nobody paid for this but me. My mother's roof, which had leaked for 11 years, was now fixed. Properly fixed, with good zinc and sealed edges, the kind that does not give under hard rain. There is a particular joy in providing for your mother. A deep, quiet joy, the kind that has no aftertaste. I was not looking for love. I was genuinely, peacefully not looking. And perhaps that is exactly why it found me. His name was Kolade. He came into my life through a project meeting. A contractor, methodical, no nonsense, with kind eyes and the rare quality of listening when other people spoke. He heard my story gradually in pieces over several months of working together. And instead of the pity I feared or the caution I expected, he simply said one evening over supper, "Sade, do you know what kind of person carries someone the way you carried him and still comes out standing? A rare one. I hope whoever comes next knows what they are holding." I looked at this man across the table and thought, what if it is you? It was him. We married in 2019. Not a loud wedding. We did not need loud. We married in my mother's compound with good food and real people and so much laughter that the neighbors came to look. Kolade danced with my mother until she was breathless and laughing so hard she had to sit down. I stood in the middle of that compound in my cream and gold dress, and I felt, for the first time in a very long time, like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Life was good, real and solid and good. And then, in 2020, Dayo's world fell apart, publicly, loudly, in a way that the whole town saw. The story came to me in pieces, as these stories always do. Dayo had built his career on the relationship with his boss's daughter Amara. They had gotten engaged. Her father had promoted him twice, not because of his work, but because of proximity. Dayo had learned the language of corporate performance without actually mastering the substance of it. He knew how to look productive. He knew how to speak in meetings. But when real pressure came, when a major project went wrong and the technical decisions were traced back to him, there was nothing underneath the surface to hold things up. Amara's father was not a man who protected incompetence, not even for family. When the project failure cost the company a significant contract and the investigation pointed clearly at Dayo's decisions, the father-in-law moved without sentiment. Dayo was suspended first, then quietly let go. The engagement was cancelled shortly after, not dramatically but firmly, the way wealthy families end things, with lawyers and silence and no public scene. Dayo lost his job. He lost the apartment that had been provided through the company's staff housing. He lost the social circle that had only ever been on loan. And then, because God has a sense of precision, his mother fell seriously ill, the kind of ill that requires consistent hospital visits and real money. And Dayo, stripped of his salary, his connections, and his cushion, discovered exactly how thin the ground was beneath him. He came back to Karu. I heard he had returned before I saw him. The town talked, as it always did. Dayo is back. Things fell apart for him in Abuja. He is staying with his uncle. People said it with the particular tone that is not quite sympathy and not quite satisfaction, the tone that means we are not surprised. The first time I saw him after all those years, I was in my car, driving through the main road in Karu. He was standing at the roadside with his uncle, looking thinner, looking older, looking like a man carrying something heavy that he could not put down. Our eyes met through my windshield. I kept driving, not from cruelty, not from satisfaction. I kept driving because there was genuinely nowhere to stop, no conversation left to have, no wound left to reopen. What he had done to me that day in the crowd, the denial, the public humiliation, the easy laughter at my expense, had already been answered by life in the only way that truly satisfies, not revenge, but consequence. But the phone call came 2 weeks later. It was Dayo himself. His number had changed, but I recognized his voice within 2 words. Sade. I said nothing. I waited. I know I have no right to call you, he said. His voice was different. The smoothness was gone. What was left was something rawer. I needed you to know that I am sorry for everything, for what I did at that event, for everything before that. I have thought about it many times. The silence between us was very full. Your mother, I said finally. How is she? A pause. Not well, he said. The hospital bills are. Send me the hospital account details, I said. Another pause, longer this time. Sade, I cannot ask you to. You are not asking, I am offering. Send the details. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking, why? Why would she do that? I will tell you why. Because I am not doing it for Dayo. I am doing it for his mother, who was never unkind to me. I am doing it because I am Sade, the woman who carried bricks and came out standing, and that woman does not close her heart just because someone broke it. Doing good from a position of strength is not weakness. It is the fullest, most final form of winning. But I would be lying if I said there was no part of me that felt the completeness of that moment. The woman he denied in public, the woman he laughed at in front of colleagues, that same woman was now in a position to help his family when everything had fallen away. Not because life owed me that moment, but because character, built over years of honest struggle, always outlasts the shortcuts people take to get past it.